All right, everyone. Good morning. Thursday morning, and we're back talking about Celtic. And talking about Celtic is nice and easy right now because things are good. We've got another game in the horizon, guys, so we can get into that. We'll chat. Well, I don't know. Will we chat a bit more about Leipzig as well? That was decent. I've not spoken to either of you about the Leipzig game. I'm
Yeah,
on my phone again, as you can probably see. Laptop is completely gubbed, guys, completely gubbed. So hopefully for tomorrow's stream, I'll be in a new laptop. But technical difficulties galore. Apologies, we're a wee bit late for some of you watching live. The laptop's not fixed, McLaughlin, unless you're talking about someone else. Sadly, not fixed. Kevin, how's things? How are you?
aye, great. Good time to be a Celtic fan.
It is indeed.
I was, I was in a bit of a dilemma the other night because I sat up to watch most of the American election, presidential election, because I had to write something about it. So I couldn't go to the game, and I was kind of keeping an eye on the updates. And then you see kind of snatches of on social media of some of the moves, some of the kind of play that led to the goals. So I thought, God, I've missed something that I haven't maybe seen since we beat Lyon in 2003, I think. So I went over to my brother's last night because he hadn't seen the game. He'd been travelling. So I just cancelled what else I had on last night so that we could just sit in peace and watch the 90 minutes again.
Yeah.
What a performance. I mean, there was so many things about it. I mean, first of all, our record against German teams is rubbish, really. I think that's only our fifth ever victory against a German team, fifth or sixth. This isn't just any German team. This is the team that's second in the Bundesliga, and which is not very popular in Germany because of the amount of money and the corporate muscle that it's been backed by. So they've just been able to cherry pick as much as they can and spend as much as they can. I'm not going to go into spending because I know there's a debate about this in social media, like when we beat Aberdeen 6-0 and the income differential, and then we get beat 7-1 by Borussia Dortmund. But the fact is that I'll go back to that Lyon game. I was at it, and for maybe younger viewers, Lyon at that time, although they haven't won a European trophy, they were probably then would have been one of the top 5, top 6 in Europe, and would always have been among the favourites to reach the last 4 of the Champions League. And Celtic dismantled them. We beat them 2-0. We missed a penalty, and we were playing, fast, dynamic, high press, rock and roll football. But there was something different that I saw against Leipzig. There was all of that, but there was a far greater skill level. The little patterns of one touch play. I've never seen evident in a game against opposition of that quality before. Also, the other thing, and I'm sure it's become apparent to everybody, is underpinning all of that is that our midfielders were taking the ball in perilous situations, and instead of just predictably passing it back or to the side, we're doing that transitioning, as they call it.
Yeah.
Always looking to play the ball to a more advanced position, which comes from having an awareness of who's around you. And Hatate, what a game. Callum McGregor,
fabulous.
Callum McGregor, what a game. Kuhn, what a game. Engels, who had come under a little bit of criticism, did really, really well. A lot of what he does is unnoticed. He does a lot of running. Big Trusty, wow. And Kyogo, even though he never got a goal, my God. I mean, would you want to play against him? No matter how good a defender or how much quality you have in your team, he just harried them into submission. So yeah, it was delightful. I'll shut up.
Sonny, you're chatting. No, we'll get more from you. Don't worry. This might be an hour-long video because I could genuinely. I'm still just buzzing thinking back to the game, and the result itself was amazing. But just some of the football we played, I think especially in the second half when the game opened up, I felt like the vision of like guys like Hatate playing those wee passes, like cutting the lines, and you see that against teams domestically, and you think fine, but doing it against a top team like Leipzig was amazing to watch, and just like amazing to watch because I don't think we've ever really seen it, have we? I mean, there maybe been the odd game. I remember we played Inter Milan under Ronnie Dyler. I remember us. I know we drew that, but I remember us playing really well that night, and really, I think the goal that Stuart Armstrong scored, the first goal, if you remember it, was like an incredible passing move. And I remember that night thinking, wow, I'm so proud to support this team at this level playing like that. But that was another level on Tuesday night. And yeah, one of my pals mentioned the Lyon game as a potential game, the Benfica game in maybe '06 that we won 3-0.
Yeah,
Kenny Miller
Kenny
scored.
Miller.
That was a famous night when people say that Celtic played really well. And obviously, there's been the gigantic wins, the Barcelonas and Man United, AC Milan, etc. But that was totally special the other night. The football we played, and yeah, so many positives. Ryan, you must still be delighted.
Yeah, still very much on cloud nine after that result, to be honest with you. Yeah, nothing but pride after watching them that night. It feels as if it was, I'm still buzzing about that result in general. Everybody to a man was incredible on the night. It was a team performance. Brendan Rodgers spoke before the game about how the most important player had to be the team on the night. That was certainly the case, but some individual performances. I completely agree with Kevin with what he was saying about Engels. There's been a wee bit of a discussion online. I don't think people have decided whether he was good or not. I was certainly at the game, and I noticed him, especially for a 10-15
What is up with folk,
period.
Ryan? What is up with folk?
I think some people are trying to find negatives in a wholly positive situation that Celtic had. It's our default mood to be a bit negative, I think, especially in this country, even when you get a positive result like you did on Tuesday. But he had the most key passes in the game for Celtic with 5. The next best was, I think, a tie between 4 players with 1. So he was so involved in everything positive with Celtic. And I also think that he calmed the game down when Leipzig were getting ahead of Celtic after they got a goal lead. From that period up until the equaliser, he really does turn it on. And I was at the game and I was watching him do this. He was a player that could be depended upon to take the ball in pressure situations. Celtic were looking for him, and they were looking for him to make things happen. And he calmed everybody else down because, McGregor and Hatate, I think, were being quite slack for 10-15 minutes, but he was the one that was showing a bit of composure. At least that's what I remember from the game. And then Nicholas Kuhn decides to just haunt his former employers. Absolutely incredible stuff from him.
He's been nominated as one of the 4 players of the whole Champions League match day. I think the fella whose name I can't pronounce from Sporting Lisbon, who's unbelievable, has been announced, and Luis Diaz has been announced, and some other guy I can't remember. But Kuhn's one of the 4 players UEFA picked out, and I think his first goal has been picked out as well as one of the nominations. And I mean, that's amazing. See, I don't know. Son, you go.
See, I love the first goal, but the second goal is even better in my eyes. That's more aesthetically pleasing to me than the goal from outside the box, because if you look at the whole goal, about 20-25 seconds before it's scored, the pressing is something that I've only been able to sort of dream about when I'm talking about Celtic in the Champions League. Do you know how satisfying it is to see a team give a team that's so renowned for their pressing ability their own medicine and do what they do to other teams directly to them? It was a joy to watch that. I put the whole clip on my Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. It's just, it's actually quite beautiful in a way. And I know that sounds quite cheesy, but just the way that Celtic were playing in Europe to actually bring that passing or pressing style and really forcing them into a corner that they didn't want to be in before great play from Hatate and Taylor to find Nicholas Kuhn. yeah, it was just a brilliant night all in. Couldn't be happier. And, it was 3-1. It could have been 5-1. It could have been a Bratislava result. That's how good it was from Celtic.
It's funny you bring that up, because actually this was how greedy I was getting, but at the end of that game I was really hoping we were going to get a fourth, and we had that goal that was disallowed, and I was actually slightly disappointed when the full-time whistle went, because I kind of thought this can be more than 3-1. Obviously getting far too greedy, Kevin, but that summed up how good we'd been.
Yeah, I totally get that, because there's something that's become apparent both in this game and also in the last 15-20 minutes of the Atlanta game. We're a very fit team. By the time it got to 75 minutes in Bergamo, Atalanta had kind of blown themselves out. We weren't really, I felt more comfortable watching that in the last 10 minutes than I was really otherwise would have been expected to be or had any right to be. And it was basically because Celtic had stood tall, taken everything that Atalanta had thrown at them, had made Atalanta kind of be a little on their guard, because we broke quite well a few times. And they were tired the last 10, 12, 15 minutes, and we weren't. The same thing with Leipzig the other night.
Bratislava as well, opening game, they were knackered.
But, Leipzig, you've got to remember, Leipzig and Atalanta are playing against a quality of opponent that is each week domestically that's above ours. And that's not being disrespectful, of course, to any of our clubs. These are top 4 leagues. So the kind of the momentum of the game and the fitness required week in, week out, concentration levels are greater. But in the last 15 minutes, the other night, when I would have expected, because I was kind of keeping an eye on it while I was kind of keeping an eye on the American election, and you go to the kind of score update, and you're counting down. Right, 5 minutes is still 3-1. But what if they score? There'll be an extra 5 or 6 minutes of injury added time. The point that you're always making, Hamish, about Celtic losing goals in batches.
Yeah.
And then I see the game, and they were tired. It was as simple as that. Celtic were not in any danger in the last 15 minutes, and the reason why is because of our fitness levels.
I think they were physically and emotionally drained, Leipzig. Like I genuinely think we just completely schooled them in every department, which is a ridiculous thing to say about the team who are second in the Bundesliga. But there was comments from a number of their players after the game, but Kevin Campbell in particular today, Ryan, you'll have seen this. I mean, incredible comments, what he's saying about being so impressed by Celtic, and just, I mean, like, for how long have we heard, this is what I love, for how long have we heard people talking about the atmosphere at Celtic Park? And I enjoy those quotes. I think it's great. We have the best fans in Europe. It's the best atmosphere in Europe, undoubtedly, to me. But now we have opposition players talking about that and the team themselves. And that makes me far prouder than anything.
It's actually a 180. It's incredible, because he was exactly the player that I was raving about 9 years ago when he was playing for Red Bull Salzburg against Celtic. I remember him making the breakthrough. He was incredible against Celtic. I remember him so clearly. He totally ran the midfield. Now you've got players like that who, I think what age is he now? 33, 34. He's been about the block. He's now complimenting the way that Celtic played in the midfield, and how a team that, cost far more to assemble than the team that he's in RB Leipzig, he's talking about how they couldn't do anything against them, or they really struggled to work them out. And that's brilliant. That's exactly what you want to hear. You don't want Celtic to be predictable. You want Celtic to be causing these teams problems game in, game out. There was a point that I was going to make, and now it's completely went out of my head. But I just think that Celtic were so good on the night, so effective, and that's the blueprint to how Celtic should play going forward. I did a stats bomb report yesterday, and they were by far the better team in almost every metric. Despite having more of the ball, they completed more pressures than RB Leipzig, which is pretty much unheard of in a game like that. Usually it's the team that are out of possession that will be doing more pressures because you can't pressure when you're on the ball. But Celtic still managed to, it was just by one, like it was like 149, 150 in favour of Celtic or something like that, or round about those numbers. But the fact that Celtic get more pressures than RB Leipzig, a team that is known for their pressing, is really quite eye-opening in a good way. Celtic are in a really good place at the moment. The point that I was going to make, Leipzig gave up after about 85, 86 minutes. And the reason you could tell that was because they're a passing team. They were just launching the ball forward. They had no idea what to do. That was them in their last resort, basically, trying to make things happen, trying to pump the ball up to Yusuf Poulsen and Andre Silva, a bit of height up front. Once they were doing that, you knew that the game was up for them. And if anything, it was looking like Celtic were going to score more goals in the end, when that has not always been the case in Europe. Look at it from a year ago. Lazio, a game that Celtic should have won. They should have beat Leipzig by a couple of goals on the night. They somehow amazingly managed to lose that game in the final minutes, which was unheard of. Well, not unheard of in terms of Celtic in Europe, but it was a really shocking result given the game had went. Now, all of a sudden, you're talking about Celtic should have beat a team like RB Leipzig by more. Like, say that into yourself for a second. It's incredible to say that. And that's all because of Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers, and Tony says he's an elite level manager. He's mixing with the elite and he's winning games and he's getting points off of elite level teams that have won things before. So, yeah, I couldn't be happy with the way things are going just now in Europe. And top 8 now has to be a name rather than a hope.
Keep an eye on that Leipzig team going forward, because although maybe some of the names in that team aren't household names, in a number of years they will be. You think back to the last time we played them, and like Szoboszlai was playing, and Gvardiol, and I mean, they had Haaland a few years ago. So I think, that result will look even better in a few years' time. We can chat about the top 8 stuff. Jason saying, just looking to our games coming up, Bruges and Zagreb looking like the 2 hardest ties. So Bruges beat Villa last night, bit of a controversial goal they scored. Tyrone Mings decided to pick the ball up for some reason. I was looking at the fact that Bruges, Zagreb and Villa are all very much in and about us in the table. Villa are a couple of points ahead. Zagreb are 7 points as well. And Club Bruges have 6 points. So these are looking like 6-pointers against these teams. Certainly the 2 we've got coming up now. I think Young Boys at home, while it will clearly be a challenging game, I think, they're really struggling, and you expect Celtic to be able to win that game if we play at any sort of level. This one from Ian, we can finish in the top 8. Any reason to disagree? I know Tony was getting a bit excited. Jesse, you're getting a bit excited. We'll hear from Kevin. I still think that's a real tall order to finish in the top 8. I think we maybe just need to settle down slightly. Listen, it's a great conversation to have, and I'm delighted we're having it. But for me, if Celtic finish in the top 8, that would be like a monumental achievement. I don't want us to finish 11th or 12th and be disappointed with that. For me, realistic targets. Can we finish inside the top half of the table and get ourselves a home second leg? That would be for me. But what do you think, Kevin? Top 8?
I'm not really thinking about the top 8 because I see that Barcelona, Bayern Munich, PSG have still really to get their act together. And they've got 4, there's 4 games to go. And you can imagine the conversations that are happening at those clubs at the moment, which is like, we need 12 points from 4 games. And, they'll get them because they need them. Although PSG are a bit, but we can't really, if it happens, it's a bonus. But those 3 teams, at least 2 of them, who are not in the top 8 at the moment, will make it. We're entitled to think that we can beat Young Boys, and we're entitled to think we can beat Club Bruges. I saw that error by Tyrone Mings, and it was just bizarre. I felt sorry for him, but it was bizarre. And Aston Villa had, they've already won 3 games. They had 2 or 3 players out, which was understandable for them because this is a very, very intense period in English football, which is the most demanding domestic league in world football. So I wouldn't read too much into that. Dinamo Zagreb have played well, and I've been, that's kind of made my heart soft because I've got a kind of Dinamo Zagreb were one of the great old Eastern European pillars, and they'd been getting scudded far too often for my liking. They're a big, hard, traditional football team, and I'm sort of quite glad that they put a few results together. But I think we can go to Zagreb and be hopeful of getting at least a point.
Yeah.
Aston Villa will take care of itself. I'm hoping that by the time we play Aston Villa, we're not needing a result there. But yeah. I think we could play with a bit of freedom that we might not have done if we were playing them last season or 2 seasons ago. One other thing is that there's been elements of our performances in some games over the last 2 seasons that have been building towards that performance the other night. That performance the other night was the first time that it all come together, all the ducks in a row over 90 minutes. The first hour or so against Real Madrid at home. God, even some of the play that we had against Real Madrid in the Bernabeu, when some truly bizarre refereeing skewed it. The 2-2 against Atletico Madrid, we played some smashing football, got a fantastic goal, and we should have beaten Lazio at home. Just should have. End of. And Shakhtar Donetsk away. We played some nice football.
Home as well.
We're home, and so we're. In fact, bizarrely, I remember a passage of play against Salzburg. Was it Salzburg? No. That we played Leipzig. 2 years. Leipzig, away from home, and I just remember this passage of play, and I'm sort of thinking we hung on to the ball for a good 5-6 minutes, and the ball was skipping along the surface, and we actually played better there than we played at home. So we're building towards it, and it's been a process begun under Ange, sharpened under Brendan, and you just got to hope that there's a foundation now, that it's not a flash in the pan, and I don't think it is. I don't think it is, because it's not come. It's, as I said, it's not unexpected. This hasn't been like a bolt of light from on high that we didn't see coming, and then we go back to our usual ways. This is something that's been building over the last 2 seasons.
I think that's a great point you make. I was having that thought. I was getting all misty-eyed during the game, watching that second half performance, and just thinking, like, it does feel like we've been building up to this moment for a number of years. Even Postecoglou's first season in the Europa League, I thought we played well in a lot of those games, Leverkusen, Betis, Ferencvaros. And how many times did we fall because of a daft bit of defending or a refereeing decision or a late goal? And just ever since then, I feel like we've not got the rewards. And last season was clearly the perfect example of that. That Lazio game was so cruel. And I'm so glad now that the team seem to have overcome that. But as a number of the comments have saying, let's stay humble here. Club Brugge up next. It's going to be a hell of a match. They're doing well. They're going to think they can come to Celtic Park and win. But turn up with the same attitude, the same kind of want to show how good you are at that level. And if we play at the level we did on Tuesday night, we'll be okay in that game with the crowd behind us. But I'm already counting down. I mean, if we win that game, we're basically looking at being through. We did just get a comment there from Waza Boy asking if 10 points would be enough to make the top 24. I was actually reading a thing online from one of the various accounts that cover this kind of thing, and basically they're saying that the likelihood of 10 points being needed to qualify is getting greater and greater because of 2 things. One, that there's only apparently been 4 draws in the whole Champions League so far this season, which I find ridiculous given how what is there, 18 matches, 72 matches so far, and only 4 of them have been a draw. And also the fact that I think 6 teams have 0 or 1 points. So it's basically bumping everyone else up. So I think there was a 50% chance of 10 points being needed, Ryan. 11% chance of 11 points being needed. And then obviously the rest was kind of 9. But you're still thinking 10 will probably be enough. But yeah, as McLaughlin's saying, treat Bruges the same way as Leipzig and don't get complacent.
Yeah, I don't think they will be complacent because they'll know. And I think maybe that Bruges result might be a positive thing for Celtic as well, because the players know that they're up against a good side. They should know, because Bruges are one of these sides that have been
Engels
doing
will
so
know.
well. Yep, Engels will know. That was his first team, the team that he made his breakthrough, or his B team breakthrough before moving to Augsburg. He played for NXT FC. I remember having a look at that. So, you know, if Engels can have a similar performance to the way Kuhn did against his former team, then I don't think anybody will be complaining about his contributions whatsoever. I just think the reason why Celtic are doing so well is because they've kept that core of players together, and those core of players were playing under Postecoglou and then Brendan Rodgers. They've had that exposure in the Champions League, and now they're used to it. Rather than chopping and changing every season, second season, because you can't have any continuity. And these players, you have new players that come in that just don't. They're not used to the climate. They're not used to the expectancy of playing in Europe. Whereas, you know, the likes of Carter Vickers, who is a Champions League defender in my eyes, but even more so now because he's played there for the past 3 seasons for Celtic. You've got Hatate, who's played there for 2 seasons, 2 and a bit seasons. You've got other players, even Callum McGregor playing there every season because, you know, he was playing in the Europa League at points as well, making that step up to put in that sort of performance in the Champions League after the way, you know, the whole team was sort of criticised after Dortmund, quite rightly, because it was a shocking result. But it really does show character that they've came back from this and managed to get 4 points against Atalanta and Leipzig, respectively. They're no mugs, these teams, and Celtic have done really well to concede 1 goal in 2 games. You know, after conceding 7 in the 1, to concede 1 goal in 2 with the might of, you know, Atalanta with Lookman and Retegui, and Leipzig with Sesko and Openda, as well as other players that can score goals in the midfield and defence as well. It bodes really, really well for the future games. 10 points has got to be the aim. I want 10 points by the next game. I want Celtic to be sitting on 10 points after Bruges. And then we're talking about, can Celtic get 13, 16? The only way is up really for this, and you can tell that a format's working well in Europe if the big teams are moaning about it, because you know you get you've got opposition fans of so-called bigger and better clubs in the Champions League now moaning about the fact that they have to play these games, and that means that the format's working. You look at Celtic are a success story at this point. So are Brest. So are Aston Villa to an extent, even though they spent loads of money in the summer. Monaco. Zagreb as well, you know, they get beat 9-2 in the first game that they played against Bayern Munich. We've managed to pick up 7 points since then. They're not going to be a pushover, especially in Zagreb as well. Looking forward to being at that game. Fingers crossed that Celtic can get 3 points. That would be another sort of statement if Celtic were to get 3 points away from home. But you look at the home games, I think Celtic can get maximum points from the remaining two home games.
Yeah,
two home games. Yeah, I think they can get 6 points from those games. And if they do that, then they'll be in a great position. They'll definitely finish in the playoffs. You know, it might be a tall order, the top 8, but, you know, while it's still mathematically possible, you can still believe at the end of the day. You never know. Teams are cutting each other's throats all the time in this league. And yeah, we'll see how it goes, but it's really positive just now. It's a really positive timing, and it's not always been like that in Europe for Celtic. So you've just got to lap it up and enjoy it while it happens.
And just finally, Scott, saying I wanted to bring this up. Kyogo's been called up by Japan. Hatate and Maeda also in the squad, Kevin. So good. I guess that's another boost. And maybe Hatate playing and so well and scoring at that high level will convince the Japan manager to finally give him a shot.
I just think when you watch him and his approach to the game and what he does during the game, I just think any manager coming to see him, either to scout him or to see if he's good enough for your international team, no matter what nationality it is. There's a reason why Manchester City were said to be interested in him pre-season, because you watch that and he gives you everything that you want in a modern footballer. He doesn't stop. His fitness levels are amazing. He's got great skill. There was a wee run of his where he kind of just rounded his opponent, took it into the box, and it was a great block by the Leipzig defender. He's got great close control. When you actually watch his feet, see that goal against Rangers last season when he gets the ball on the edge of the box and just does a very, very quick shuffle, a nano shuffle, it completely through his immediate opponent, and the goal opens up and he curls it. Also, his awareness when he scored the goal this season against Rangers, nobody else is expecting that shot, and he knew that the only way that shot could work was not by hitting it with power. It was the direction and executing it very quickly to catch the keeper off guard. He's got great intelligence, great awareness of people around him, works his socks off, great skill. He's hard. Like, he'll put himself into areas where he knows he's going to get clouted. Sometimes I think sometimes when he goes 2 or 3 games without a goal, or he misses some clear-cut chances, we're like, oh, the wee man's off his game. He's never been off his game. Honestly, see, since he started at Celtic, he has never been off his game. There's been 1 or 2 aspects which haven't come together, when he's missed a few chances, but I can't remember any game where he has been anything less than a 6 or 7, because when he knows maybe certain things aren't happening for him, or he's up against a cracking defender who's on top of his game, he just strengthens other parts of his game. He just thinks, right, okay, that's not working, I'll make sure this working, and then he just harries. Even if he just he's without the ball for about half an hour, the amount of running he does lifts the pressure from his team and tells the opposition, you might think I'm not having a great game here, but I'm going to be breathing down your neck. He's the complete modern footballer, and there's not many players I've seen who, after 2-3 seasons, I can safely say he turns up in every game he plays.
Yeah, I was having a debate after the game with some of my pals, and to be honest, there wasn't much of a debate. For me, Kyogo is the best forward I've had since the main man 20 odd years ago. I know a lot of people like Dembele and Edward, and I shouldn't really be comparing them because I love those guys as well. But for me, what Kyogo's brought to the party, all the goals he scored in the derbies, the goals he scored at Champions League level, the performances he puts in when even he doesn't score, like Tuesday night, it's just fabulous. Having said that, I think Ida might come in on Sunday, and I really hope Ida does something big.
I think you're right.
On Sunday, like he did the last time. I think we'll see some changes on Sunday, and no complacency, Ryan. Sunday, tough game, Kilmarnock away.
No, hopefully we've got a new contract renewal to talk about as well by the time Sunday comes along, because that's broke in the past, 20-25 minutes or so.
Who's this?
I've been waiting. Alistair Johnson apparently is close to a new contract at Celtic, so I've been waiting for the perfect moment to put that into the discussion, but that's very good news. It seems as if a breakthrough has been found between the players' representatives and the club, so I think he's one of Celtic's biggest assets at the moment. I didn't think he had his best performance at least the eye test didn't tell me that. I thought there was a couple of shaky moments he had in the game, but then you look at the stats bomb report and he was really good on the ball. So it's just one of those ones that I guess if you look at it in a different lens, for the most part he was solid. A couple of shaky moments, but he's been absolutely immense this season, and he was deserving of a new contract before the season even started, because he was the first choice right back, and his wages should be in line with those highest earners, because I think he is a leader at the club. The fact that he's taking the captain's armband as well is a surefire way to give him a new contract, in my opinion, because he's clearly one of the leaders. It's not as if he's grown up supporting Celtic or He's been in Scotland all his life. He's just came to the club, 2 and a bit years ago, and he's already taken up one of those leadership roles. So I'm delighted that he'll be getting a contract that reflects his role in the team.
You've
as one
got
of the
them all
leaders.
chatting about Greg Taylor now, Ryan. Only one mention of a contract, and everyone's asking about Greg Taylor.
Oh, Greg Taylor was offered a contract and he didn't accept it. That was the key. That was what's happened. So there either needs to be a renegotiation, or Greg Taylor might leave. By the time January comes around, he can talk to other clubs. That's why that news from that source about Alex Bailly was quite worrying, because Celtic could be in a position where they've got a player on 6 months, they've got another player who could be recalled by Barcelona. Not that I think he'll get into the first team at this point in time, but they might want him in and around the squad for the future. They need to get that sorted one way or the other. They need to either get Bailly signed permanently, if possible, or they need to get Greg Taylor. They need to renegotiate with the player, because I want him to stay. But at the moment, if he's not going to sign a new deal, then Celtic have got to be looking elsewhere, haven't they? In January.
And you know
or
what
in the
elsewhere
summer.
means? I don't even need to say the guy's name, but we know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Who are we talking about?
KT.
Oh.
Yeah.
Telling you.
See, there was a time about 15, 20 years ago when for KT substitute Stephen Fletcher, every close season, it was, right, we need to get the finger out and sign Stephen Fletcher, or like if we had signed Stephen Fletcher, we'd have won the title in 2005.
Kevin Doyle as well when he was at Wolves, wasn't he?
That's
he was
right.
always linked every single summer. He was always linked with the
club. I look, much as though I loved Kieran Tierney, I just have this kind of muscle memory of what tends to happen when really good, revered players come back for a second spell. It rarely works out. Because coincidentally, I was watching a documentary the other night about the Scottish icons. It was Charlie Nicholas, who's like just one of my favourite all-time Celtic players. And when he came back for a second spell, it didn't happen. Who knows, it might. I mean, he's younger, Tierney. Things haven't worked out for him, mainly because of injury. And so if he did come back, we're getting him still at a relatively young age where he's still got quite a lot to prove. It's not a case of he's done all his best work elsewhere and he's just coming back for his pension. Anyway, that's I'm digressing. The other thing I noticed was a comment Joe Hart had made, and he was dead right. It was about Yang and his performance when he came on. Because Joe Hart said the fact that he's coming on in preference to James Forrest is very meaningful, because there's still a significant portion of a game against a top club to be negotiated. So substitutions at those levels and at that time in a game are vital, are crucial. It's not just about holding the fort. Like, you need to do something. So he's obviously been working and training. He's obviously his attitude as well. Players' mental attitudes mean a lot to Brendan Rodgers too. And then what he did when he came on, it's great for the players, good for the squad, but it's also good for people at Hatate to see Hatate's whole mental, approach, like his joy when he scored the goal, his dynamism. Yeah. I think Hatate's thought, if I want to keep my place here, I've got to be at it, right? 90 minutes. And the other players look at what Yang produced when he comes on, and it's like, right, there's nothing guaranteed here.
I thought Hatate side point looked as happy as I've ever seen him when he scored. Even when he scored the double against Rangers soon after he signed, he didn't. He was nonchalant celebration. He looked delighted, and I think he's personally waited for that moment. He's had a tough Champions League time so far. A lot of injuries. Remember the Atletico game, 7 minutes in, injured, and a lot of kind of tougher games for him. I think that was his. I was going to say it's his best performance in the Champions League. I think it was probably his best performance for Celtic, full stop, on Tuesday night. And hopefully now he can build. I thought Yang was brilliant when he came on. Still, I'll be honest, I don't particularly rate him based on what I'd seen up to that point, but he looked unbelievably sharp. And hopefully he can build. Nicholas Kuhn tells us that players can change and turn into incredible players very quickly, because the player we've got with Nicholas Kuhn now, remember at the start of the season, we were really unsure about Nicholas Kuhn. And that's like 4 months ago, less than 4 months ago. It's ridiculous how quickly Kuhn has turned in from genuinely a player who I didn't think was up to play for Celtic. He's turned into a player I'm already thinking will probably be a record sale when he goes, because of what he's done in the Champions League. It's been an unbelievable turnaround. Anyway, we could chat forever, guys, but I think we'll head off and let you on with your day or your politics, Kevin. If you feel you want to get involved in that stuff.
No, I'll take a break from it. Kilmarnock on Sunday, maybe have a couple of beers.
Very nice. Enjoy that. Right, Ryan, I'll catch up with you tomorrow. I guess Tony will be back at that stage as well. And a number of you watching this, we are looking for people to subscribe to the channel. So if you're feeling good and fancy hovering over that button and clicking it or tapping it on your phone and help us get the numbers up and find more Celtic fans like you, it'd be much appreciated. You'll be able to do it right when we're done here, which is round about now. Bye, everyone.